What's up everybody, it's CJ and I'm back with another Pleasantville renovation video, and today we're going to be furnishing 165 Sim Lane, also known as the Goth's house. And y'all, it took me all day to furnish this house. It may not seem like it because this house doesn't really look that big from the outside, but this is a 3-story home and it also has a rooftop. There was a lot to furnish, and then on top of that, I just had to go in and fix all the EA things, like the floor plan and, the furnishing style, you know how it goes. So needless to say, it took me all day. I think by the time I finished this video, the sun was going down. So, but in all, I do like how it turned out. I think it looks a lot better. I spent a lot of time outside trying to figure out how to make it look more interesting because, yes, we have that singular bump out in the middle, but this house just doesn't look, to me at least, that interesting from the outside. So I wanted to kind of make it look a little bit more fancy. So I'm using this fence from the Supernatural pack, and I kind of make a makeshift rooftop balcony. I don't really know how you would describe it. It's kind of like a porch, I guess. There's no roof on top of it, but it is like a porch. I thought it looked kind of nice, and it made it look a lot more fancy. I was a little bit disappointed because I kind of sometimes forget that in The Sims 3, you can't alt-place doors and windows like you can in The Sims 4. So I was kind of upset that I had to use a 3-tiled door because I wanted to just use a 2-tile. And I could, but it would have been off-centered. So yeah. So I had to use this, to me, it looks kind of like a dungeon door, but I'm using this door from the World Adventures pack. That was a nice fancy entryway. I'm also using some of these windows from the Ambitions pack, which honestly, this is the second time I'm using those windows in this world. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever really used those windows for really anything, but they kind of looked nice with this house, and they kind of make it look more old and refined. I feel like my edition of this house looks more goth-like, in my opinion, than maybe the original. But maybe that's just my opinion, So as you can see, I went with a kind of a slightly older wallpaper. It's one of the wallpapers from the Ambitions pack. And then I paired it up with some of this stone wallpaper that is probably base game. Oh, also too, y'all, this was one of those houses that I almost broke my rule. So if you didn't know, so for the whole entire world, I'm really trying my best to not use stored content. I know that I did place a lemonade stand on that park a long time ago, so I am going to take it away when before I release the official save file, but I'm trying not to use a lot of store content because I know a lot of y'all out there do not have all of it. I myself don't even have all the store content, so I wanted to kind of have a save file that was just more accessible to some of y'all. But I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this is one of those builds that I almost broke that rule. I was about to use some store content because we have these goth objects in The Sims 3. There's spooky-ish kind of objects. It would fit perfectly in the Goth's house. We have knights and windows, but alas, I didn't use any of them because I wanted to have this be base game and expansion packs and stuff. So yeah, but just know y'all, I was almost. So like I said, y'all, a lot of what I've done was just to the outside. I wanted it to look more interesting, more fancy, more goth-like. So I'm using some of those plum trees. I never use these trees, y'all. They're plum trees, but to me they look like they're dead trees or they're dying trees. So I used a couple of them in the front. I'm also using some of those Into the Future shrubs. We have some of those white plants from the base game, those shrubs down below. We have the base game trees. Yeah, and this is kind of how the house looks. It kind of reminds me in a way of Bates Motel, if you know what I'm talking about. It kind of, that wasn't my intention, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm this looks oddly familiar. But anyway, now we move on to the insides. I had a whole lot of footage for this build in general, but there was so much stuff that I didn't even record because it was going to take way too long. So I kind of fixed the floor plan a little bit off camera for the downstairs and for the upstairs. So for the downstairs, when you first enter in, you'll have a foyer. I knew I wanted to use some nice marble floor, so I used some of that. It's from the late night pack, and I love using it. I use it as tile a lot of the time in kitchens and dining rooms. I used it in the dining room in this build as well, but I just like it, and I'm kind of glad that I came across it one day because it looks so nice. I'm telling y'all, The Sims 3 just has a lot of cool floors and wallpaper, and the fact that we have a color wheel and you can change the color and pattern and stuff and the texture, it makes it even better in my opinion. For the foyer, I didn't really do a whole lot in here. I'm just adding a couple of those chairs from the Supernatural pack. Honestly, Supernatural kind of carried the whole entire build. I don't really ever furnish or build, I guess, the Victorian style homes. I never really tackle that. It's just not really my personal style, I guess. I don't really have a strong connection to it in general. So I never really build or furnish in this style. But since this is the Goth household and their house is literally a Victorian home, I feel like this was a good challenge for me to kind of step outside of my comfort zone. So we have this really fancy foyer. I'm using the rug from Into the Future. It has a nice fancy print. And like I said, I used a lot of the Supernatural pack, because a lot of those objects are kind of spooky and they kind of fit in with like the Victorian vibe anyway, at least in my opinion. So everything kind of just all came together in the end. I kind of did like the original furnishing style of the original house, so I mean, I was kind of inspired by it. So you'll see that I kept some of the wallpapers, or I like slightly tweaked some of them, you know, because like they're not all bad, right? In my opinion, a lot of the EA houses are kind of ugly, and or if they're not ugly, they're just not properly furnished like I like. But this one wasn't really that bad. It's just needed some work here and there, you know? So now we kind of move on to like the hallway section. I kind of jump around a little bit with this build. So I kind of started off in the hallway by just placing down objects that I knew that I wanted to be here. And then I kind of like go over to the living room for a little bit. Then I come back to the hallway. I had like a lot of ideas, and there was so much things I wanted to do. And I really wanted this house to look nice. That was like my biggest thing. I was like, I know I'm not really good at Victorian style, so I was like, it needs to look decent, CJ. So I think I did a good job. You have to let me know down below what you think about it, but I think I did a good job with it. Also, this house did have a back door. I think in the original house, you have to let me know, y'all, but isn't in the original Goth house there's like a grave, like a graveyard in the backyard? This lot wasn't big enough for that. I could have probably squeezed one somewhere, but it doesn't have a graveyard on the slide. You can always add tombstones if you want. So I got rid of the back door because it wouldn't really lead anywhere anyway. And the whole entire house is fenced in with a low-lying hedge. So I was like, we don't really need to have a back door, at least in my opinion. So I got rid of it. But if you want to bring it back, feel free to. And then also too, y'all, I gave this house a Bonehilda. I don't know why, because I was like, you know what, like they're spooky, they're like kind of rich anyway, and I'm pretty sure they would have like, you know, butlers or maids or whatever. So I gave them a Bonehilda coffin, and I put her in the dining room, and luckily she fit perfectly in like a little nook space. So like it kind of all worked out. Like I really love when builds like this all just work out. It just makes everything come together, and it looks so good, you know? So now we kind of move on to the living room. So one of the first things I did in here was I changed the floor. I think I might have slightly tweaked the wallpaper. I can't remember. I also wanted to put a TV, because the original house, I don't know if there was a TV at all in the house, but I gave them a TV because I felt like they needed one. I also swapped out the old fireplace with the one from the Supernatural pack because I just like this one. It is a little bit bigger. I did have to turn on move objects in order to fit the chairs kind of like where I wanted them to be. And then I really wanted to use a carpet in here, y'all, but then I was like, I know if I put a carpet, it's gonna catch on fire because it's so close to the fireplace. And if you didn't know, if you have a carpet right by a fireplace, it will catch on fire. Like I used to think it had to be underneath the fireplace, but no, I think as long as it's like near the fireplace, if it's close enough, it will catch on fire. Trust me, it's happened to me really recently in my jam legacy. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So but now I'm just kind of going in for the living room. I'm just cluttering it up the space some. I'm using a lot of objects from the Supernatural pack. So we have like this little head statue I put up. There's a lot of like artwork on the wall. We have the grandfather clocks all over. I also forgot to furnish the downstairs bathroom, so I went in really quick and I've just refurnished it. It really looks nice, and I kind of feel like this house kind of has like a lot of Sims 2 inspiration. I mean, it is a Sims 2 house that I'm furnishing technically, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just kind of gives off like a Sims 2 vibe, at least to me anyway. So for the bathroom and all the other bathrooms, I use Supernatural, you know, for the toilet, for the tub, for the sink. I was going to use like some countertops, but I was like, come on, CJ, let's use the sink from Supernatural, because I never really use a lot of the plumbing from that pack. I don't really like how chunky the toilet looks. And for me personally, I'd rather use like a shower tub combo versus a tub in The Sims if I had a choice. So like I never really use a lot of the plumbing from this pack because, like, believe it or not, Supernatural is my favorite Sims 3 expansion pack. I really like the occults. I really love the world Moonlight Falls. It was one of the first Sims 3 expansion packs I actually bought back in the day. I have a really strong connection to Supernatural, so the fact that I got to use a lot of the objects from it that I don't normally use anyway, it kind of felt nice, you know? So now we move on to the dining room. So the first thing I wanted to do is change the floor. Like I said, I used some of that floor from the late night pack, and then I was going to use this table from Supernatural until I realized that it was so small. So I swapped out that table for one of the longer ones from the base game. It's like the oval shaped one. And then I used the chairs from Supernatural, of course. I just wanted a table to kind of fit into more space. I did turn off move objects to make sure that everything could fit in here, so your Sims, you know, wouldn't have an issue like maneuvering the place. I also got rid of that statue in the corner. I swapped it out for a record player because, you know, like I'd imagine like these Sims, you know, will want to listen to like music or something while they're eating or whatever. I also added some more like paintings in here as well. We have Bonehilda in the corner, like I said earlier. I will say though, y'all, the rest of the house, like the whole house kind of looks like spooky, scary, kind of goth-like, but I feel like the kitchen looks kind of basic. And that wasn't really my intention, but like, You'll see what I mean in a little bit. The kitchen is like gray. That is like the best way to describe it. It's gray. I think it looks nice, and it kind of does still fit in with the build, but it's just very gray, if that makes sense. I did keep the original countertops. I kept the stove, and I also kept the fridge. I also like the way they look, so I didn't recolor them or anything like that. I just moved the stove over a little bit on the other wall, just so the fridge and the stove could kind of be separated. I did recolor the countertops, and I kept the coffee machine as well. Now, originally for the kitchen, I was going to put a table in here, but I figured since the dining table is literally right there, I was like, maybe I could just settle for a couple of island counters. So I put 2 of them in here, and there's 2 bar stools. The bar stools that I use are the ones from the Seasons pack because they kind of look fancy and kind of like Goth, something like the Goth family would have in their house. So I ended up using that in here. And this right here, y'all, is around the time when I was kind of realizing that the kitchen is kind of like basic, but in a good way. Like, it just, to me, it was like more like modern than like Victorian-ish, you know? So I was like, maybe if I just put like some potions and bottles up, maybe that would kind of like bring a little bit of the goth influence back in. So I used some of those like elixir bottles from the Supernatural pack. It's like the clutter object. And then I also put like a little plant in here too, just to kind of bring some more color in. But in all, I really like the kitchen, y'all. Like, it's really, really nice. Like, basic or not, I think it's a really nice kitchen. I also put another sink in here, and I used a trash compactor and a dishwasher just because I didn't really want to squeeze a trash can anywhere. So now we go upstairs. So for the upstairs, I did redo the floor plan. So originally, this house just used the regular stairs from the Sims 3 base game, but I didn't really like the way that the layout was. So to get upstairs, I still used like the same stair that was here, but for the 3rd story of the house, I used a spiral staircase, and I put that one in Mortimer's room. Now, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I did not really know whose room was what. Like, I knew who Alexander's room was because it had a toy box, but I didn't really know which one was Cassandra, and I didn't know which one was Mortimer, so I took a wild guess. So I have the spiral staircase in Mortimer's room. But before we get to there, this right here is just kind of like the little hallway section. So we had a lot of empty space, so I was like, why don't I just make this into like a office, like a home office section, seeing as how there was a desk and a bookshelf here anyway. So I'm using the really big rug from the base game. I'm also putting the Supernatural bookshelf up in here. We have the desk from the University pack paired up with the computer from the base game. The chair that I use at the desk is also from Seasons, and then I'm also using this Supernatural love seat, and I'm also using the chairs to go with it. I also have a little wooden podium with a little statue on it. I like this little corner of the house. Like, it looks kind of cozy. Like, I could see myself like reading a book over here, or like being on a computer or whatever. I think it looks really cozy, and I don't know, like I said, y'all, Supernatural is my favorite pack, so I think I'm just kind of biased anyway. But now we move on to Mortimer's room. So I'm using the bed from the Supernatural pack. I don't really use this one all too often. I feel like I just don't really use a lot of the stuff from Supernatural that often because it's just like a lot of it is like heavily themed, and I always say a lot of heavily themed objects in The Sims 3 or even in The Sims, I feel like can sometimes be hard to use in everyday builds, especially if you don't have a sim that is like that it fits, you know. But this was not the case. I actually got to use it today. So I'm using this bed. I'm also pairing it up with the matching nightstands. I have another grandfather clock in here. I don't even know how many grandfather clocks this build has. Maybe like 3, maybe 4. And also too, y'all, I don't know how I missed this, but there's literally an entire bathroom attached to this room, and I don't know how I just didn't notice it. So I had to go back and move the staircase, and then I also had to get a door to like lead into the bathroom. So I think I go back and furnish the bathroom a little bit later on in the video, but I do tackle the bathroom and kind of make it match a little bit with the bedroom. I kind of went with the more like gray beige, maybe slightly golden color scheme in his bedroom. It just looks very regal and fancy, you know? And then we do have a spiral staircase, but I'm not going to tell you what's up there just yet, but there is a reason why I put the spiral staircase in here, because I kind of have like a slight little storyline, you know? So now we are over here in Alexander's room, which I gotta say, I love how his room turned out too. I was kind of inspired by that original wallpaper in his floor. It's like a purpley wallpaper with a blue or like a dark teal floor, so I kind of was inspired by that, and I kind of like used that for the color scheme for his bedroom. I swap out the old carpet for a new one. I also swap out, I think, all of his furniture, honestly. I basically just replaced it with like something different. So instead of him having that base game dresser, we have the armoire from Supernatural. I'm also giving him the desk that comes with the Generations pack. He has a computer in here as well. We have the splat rug from Supernatural. I think I use that one probably the most out of all the Supernatural objects, probably. But we have the splat rug down here. And then I was kind of like, maybe I could give him like a slightly medieval inspired bedroom, you know? So I gave him the, like, to me it looks kind of like a castle bed, but I gave him the bed from Generations. I gave him the dragon painting from Pets. I did swap it out. I moved it to the other wall by his front door, and I used that T-Rex head to go above where his bed was, and I thought that made more sense, you know? Also, I don't really get a chance to use that T-Rex anymore. I used to use it a lot back in the day when I was, like, kind of like before I was a YouTuber, and I haven't really used it in a while, and I was like, well, you know, dinosaur, maybe we could pretend it's a dragon, so I put that in here. I have, like, a little play corner by the door. I have a couple of beanbag chairs. There's a toy box. I also gave him an activity table, a little teddy bear on the floor. His bathroom is kind of also the same color scheme. Like I said earlier, I did pretty much use Supernatural for all of the plumbing in this house, so we have the same toilet, sink, and tub that we had at first, and then of course I swapped out the old windows for the new one, and then the curtains that I use in his bedroom and in his bathroom are the ones from Generation. I just recolored them to kind of match in with the color scheme, but like I said, I really like the way his bedroom turned out. Like, I just like the color scheme. And then I think I also added a carpet. Yeah, I used the carpet from the University pack, which honestly I have been using that carpet so much lately. I don't know, I just like it. It's a really nice size, you know? So now is when I kind of went back to furnish the bathroom. Again, yo, I don't know how I missed this bathroom at first, but I went back, I furnished it. I also drew a wall just to kind of make the bathroom slightly smaller. So I was able to put a shower tub combo in here. We have the same countertop. Oh, you know what? I lied, y'all. This bathroom does not use any of the plumbing from Supernatural, but all the other ones do. But yeah, I used like the shower tub combo from, I think it's from the Island Paradise pack. We have that really nice toilet from the base game, and then of course the countertop is from base game. I also put a little plant in here as well. Now we move on to Cassandra's room, and this one was a process because I didn't really know how I wanted to furnish this one. I know that in The Sims 2, she's a young adult, and she was about to get married to Don Lothario. But I like to think that maybe she still has some stuff from when she was a teen, you know? She hasn't moved from home yet, so, this is like her childhood bedroom. It kind of grew up with her, so I knew that I wanted something kind of like fancy-ish in a way. So I'm using a lot of the items from the Showtime pack. So we have the Showtime bed, the dresser, the nightstands, that little like coffee table I put in here as well. I'm using the rug from the Generations pack. It's the little flower one. And then I also put like a chair. I think it's like one of the Supernatural chairs I put by the door. I do give her a computer desk. Originally, I used the desk that was base game, but I didn't really like it. So I swapped that desk out for the one that was from the Seasons pack. It looked a little bit bigger and fancier. And then I kept the TV. She had a TV in her room, so I ended up keeping it. I feel like she might be able to watch TV from bed, and even if she can't, there is a chair that's by the door, so she can at least sit down and watch TV, you know? I even used some of those wall lights from the Supernatural pack, the little fancy ones. I used some of those in here. I used the lamp that's from Supernatural. I didn't really know what her favorite color was, but I felt like purple kind of suited her, so I kind of like made everything purple in here, you know? And then I also used those curtains that were from the Supernatural pack as well. But I gotta say, her bedroom turned out really nicely too. I did recolor the candles on her light fixture to be purple, so there's a lot of purple in her room. Now, we move on to the third story. So like I said, y'all, there's a reason why Mortimer has the staircase that goes up to this story. I feel like, one, he doesn't really want Cassandra and Alexandra to know what he's doing up here. If you don't know, Bella Goth is missing, and no one knows where she is. And in my brain, I'm like, maybe Mortimer is trying to get into the dark arts. Maybe he's trying to study alchemy. Maybe he's trying to, learn the phases of the moon, because maybe he's trying to find a way to bring Bella back, right? Like, I know in The Sims 2, I think he likes Dina Caliente. We're just going to pretend that he's also doing this on the side, okay? He's really trying to find a way to bring Bella back. So I put like a lot of supernatural objects. We have the gem case where you can like store gems in collectibles and stuff. We have the little magical mirror, another grandfather clock. There's also like a little mannequin object that comes with Supernatural, so I put one of those in here, and I recolored it to be red to kind of match Bella's dress. Maybe he's trying to like put out feelers or something, or see if he can like pick up where she is or whatever. There's a lot of books and potions all around. He's just trying everything he can, y'all, because he really wants to get his wife back. So yeah, that's kind of like why I purposely put the little spiral staircase in here. There is also a bathroom in the corner. I just had some extra space, so I was like, maybe we could just put another bathroom in here. So the bathroom uses the same like supernatural objects and stuff, but it kind of has like a greenish brownish kind of color scheme, and that's that's pretty much it, y'all, for the entire house. The only other thing is the rooftop of the house. And for the rooftop, I didn't really want to add too much up there. There is a telescope, so I kept the telescope, but I ended up squeezing two lounge chairs like right underneath the roof. I'd imagine maybe back in the day, you know, Mortimer and Bella were outside chilling on the rooftop, so I did put that. I also put like a little drink tray out there as well, you know. But in all, that's pretty much everything, y'all, for the entire build. If you want to download this house, I'm going to leave it linked down below. We only have one more house to furnish, so I'll see you next week for the Pleasant household. But anyway, y'all, that is all that I have for this video, and I will see y'all in the next one. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment something down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Thanks for watching!